Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Coffee with the Critters, where we have taken a couple weeks break while we got moved. And we are, I don't want to say 100% moved, but there's a couple of animals that still need to come up here. But for the most part, everything else is moved. Super excited, glad to be back. We've taken a couple of weeks off just to get everything ready to go, and we are ready to get back to our live streaming and just get back to normal, whatever that means. Hey Bobby, good morning. So welcome everybody to another episode of Coffee with the Critters. We here at the Animal Behavior Center, we are an international educational center teaching people across the world how to use applied behavior analysis and positive reinforcement with the animals in the care, no matter what the species. It's about the science, not necessarily the species. It's about the individual, more importantly. And we empower animals and the people that care for them. And we are at our new location. Our first, sorry about the backlighting. I will work on that later. This place is beautiful and full of windows. You don't even need lights on, even at 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a cloudy day. I love bringing in natural light through windows for animals. Yeah, this place is gorgeous. And our enrichment room is not quite half the size of our building, but it is you should see it. It's like animal enrichment wonderland. And we still have to hang gyms. We've got a lot of work to do, but I'm missing everybody. I'm missing the live streams. I am so ready to get back to work. So they're long days here, but I love what I do. So I work 7 days a week, probably 12 to 14 hours a day. And you can tell. So welcome everybody. Good to have you on here. There's Bobby, Shirley, Daniela, Donna, Carol, Karen. See you in about an hour, Karen. Lisa, Susie, Terry. Hey, Chris, Jan. Hey, everybody. Let's go ahead and get started. Let's see. I already forgot to do something. Introduce our episode of Coffee with the Critters. So we took the past couple weeks off to move. But hey, Ray, hey, Brooke, hey, Sue. One of the last episodes we started a new topic, and I've been thinking about this, how would you address this? Where I give you a situation and you use the knowledge that you have or the knowledge that you've gained through watching Coffee with the Critters or part of our memberships or projects and figure out the best way to solve it. And I'll create some, hey, Pat, hey, Lena, I'll create a couple different scenarios. Okay, and there's Karen Prino. So, yep, just a couple of things I do as we get started. For those of you that are interested in finding out more about what we do, you can find it on our website, theanimalbehaviorcenter.com. We have moved. All of our animals are coming with us. We've even taken on a couple new temporary residents that are here for, training. While they're here, we will provide enrichment for them, and there are some unique species that are permanent residents of Indian Creek Zoo. You'll see that coming up in some of our live streams. And if you need to get in touch with me, very pretty, Rocky. If you need to get in touch with me, you can always reach me at Laura@theanimalbehaviorcenter.com, LARA. And I answer each and every one of my emails personally. And I will admit I'm a couple weeks behind on answering my emails, but starting this afternoon and tonight, I am playing catch up. And I've got a lot to catch up. I know there's a lot of people who have contacted me for online consultations. There's a lot of people contacting me for workshops. And I have something. Oh, we had the Avian Summit last weekend. That was a huge success. So kudos to Dr. Jason Crean and BD Butler. Thank you for having me on as a presenter, along with Dr. Susan Clubb, Dr. Karen Becker, Bonnie Zimmerman, who else? Jennifer Kuna. Oh, I am so sorry if I'm forgetting there's a couple other presenters. But anyways, it was success. So also you can check our events on our Facebook page. Good morning, Jill, Melinda. Hello, good to see you. Good to have you on here. Katie. You can always check our upcoming events. We're getting contacted by a lot of people to inquire about workshops happening here or me going out for workshops. I'm excited for that. And I have, hey, Debbie, one of our awesome volunteers, Debbie Sass. Also being contacted by, got a couple of really cool online functions getting ready to happen. Dr. Evelyn Gould, she's a psychiatrist out at Harvard Medical. Her and I will be doing she had asked me to do a webinar with her in the middle of March. I can't remember what time, but I need to advertise that. Very interesting. We've had Evelyn Gould in our level 2 membership, on our level 1 and 2 membership, doing a podcast with me on anxiety and dealing with anxiety. And I came at it from a perspective with animals, and she comes at it from a perspective with her history of working with people. So she'll also be coming on into level 2 with us for a live discussion. All right. We are catching up on our emails, and hopefully we will have an email coming out within this next week. We've taken a couple week break just while we get moved. And what else? Okay. One more thing I'm going to show before we get started on today's topic. No, sorry. 2 more things I need to show. 3 more things I need to show. So for those of you that are interested, we have we've been doing online education for 6 years. Level 1 is for companion animals and those interested in understanding the science of behavior and training with the companion animals in their care. You can find out more about that under memberships on the Animal Behavior Center's website. And we also have we have our level 2, which is more for people in the field of applied animal behavior, or people wanting to get into the field of using applied behavior analysis with animals. And we have a lot of board certified behavior analysts in there, a lot of trainers in there, a lot of dog trainers, wildlife rehab centers, shelters, what have you. And then some people want to be species specific. So we have things like the Parrot Project, which is extremely popular, and the Pig Project. So I just wanted to show a couple of photos of this past week at the Animal Behavior Center. We moved into our new building, and here is me smooching on Rocky in the enrichment room as I show him around the center. And we are in the enrichment room. This is before some of the temporary residents moved in. And we're staring out our front door looking at the reindeer and the black buck antelopes. And he was just like, what the heck is that? So I'm telling him it's going to be okay. And I know this is a little bird heavy. Sorry. But we told everybody in the Parrot Project, we were getting ready to do this, working with a bonded pair. We introduced, this past week, we introduced a couple of different pairs to each other very successfully. When we introduce animals to one another, there is a process called shaping that should happen. We've done it several times here at the zoo. And we usually do it on neutral territory. So we decided to, Andy, our major Mitchell's cockatoo, and Suki, our blue-fronted Amazon, have lived separated from other birds for over the past year. So it was my decision. I can tell they want to be with each other. And I told everybody here over the past year, either we get them together or we find a home where they can go to be with other birds, because to keep them housed individually is bringing stress into their lives, and that goes against our mission here at the Animal Behavior Center. So I said, once we move, I made the decision, let's put them together. We introduced them to each other. See, we moved Monday. It was a 14-hour move. We didn't get finished until after 10 o'clock at night on Monday night. So what we did is we released Suki, the blue-fronted Amazon, into her enclosure Monday night, and then we put Andy in a crate, lifted up higher on a box next to the enclosure, and then Tuesday morning we opened up the door, and voila! And they are sitting here. My desk overlooks their enclosure, and I'm sitting here watching them both right now. And it's a success. We also introduced a couple of kookaburras that weren't previously doing well together. We introduced them together and it did not go well, so we separated them, and then we made the choice to introduce them once we brought them here. Beautiful. It is a beautiful thing. Okay, so let's go ahead. I started this topic a couple of weeks ago, and it got interrupted. And I can't remember where we stopped or what the situation is. So I describe a situation, and I let you come up with a behavior modification plan for it. So are we ready to get started with that? Very interested. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, the last time we talked, we got halfway through our first scenario and I had to run. So let's try this again. Where I create the scenario. All right. Trying to do something and this is not working. Okay, forget it. All right, so our situation was, let's say we have 3 dogs. Can everybody hear me? Does anybody want to type something on the screen so I know? Okay, Katie just did. Thinking cap on. We started this last week. Okay, let's say we have 3 dogs, all right, in the house. And I'll add specifics. We have 3 dogs in the house, and when let's see, do I want to get up in the morning or do I want to come home? Let's say I'm coming home from someplace. Thanks, Diane. Let's say I'm returning home and I'm walking in the front door. So I get out of my car and I hit the lock button, all right? And my car goes beep, and I start hearing a dog bark from the house, all right? As I get closer to the house, the second and third dogs start barking. All 3 of them are barking. I'm going to label it as an uncontrollable situation. By the time I get up to the door and I open up the door, all 3 dogs are circling, barking, jumping, and I'm walking in with a handful of groceries, and I've got dogs jumping on me, barking, running around me. I have a hard time opening the door because they are all right there and I can't get in, and I'm struggling not to let them outside. Hey, Lynn. Hey, Diane. Hey, Jim. And I'm struggling to prevent them from getting out the front door. But as I continue walking in, it's hard to walk around them because they're jumping and barking. And I need to make it to the kitchen to set down the groceries. Okay? So by the time I get to the kitchen and set down the groceries, that's when I can start pushing them off of me. I'm creating a situation. I'm not saying this is what I do. I am creating a situation. I start pushing them off of me and telling them no. And the more I tell them to push, the more I tell them to get down and I push on them, yet they still keep jumping on me. Okay. That is a lot of behavior that I just explained. So many times people will clump behavior and just say, I have a behavior issue with my dog's being out of control. Well, what the hell does that mean? I just explained a whole different scenario, and there's a lot of different behaviors, so we can dissect this, okay? Does anybody want to give, hey, Carol, anybody want to give some ideas of where we can start? And we can start with back chaining as well, okay? We don't necessarily start at the very beginning of the behavior issue and work our way through it. Sometimes, and I'm getting ready to live stream this in level 1, where I have a potential behavior issue getting ready to happen here at our new building at the Animal Behavior Center. So you know what I do? I put my animals to work. Boom. I give them jobs to do, so they are part of my team to help prevent behavior issues. Just like I was telling the other day, I train my animals to help me, okay? Where I open a door to the center. As soon as that door opens, Cello, our roller pigeon, would fly into the bird room. Very dangerous situation for him. So I taught my pig to shut the door behind me because my hands were usually full. Okay, so let's get back to where do we start? So Katie says, station upon hearing car door beep. Very good. So we could do a station that is a conditioned reinforcer. So, okay, so we've unknowingly trained this undesired behavior, okay? That's why I tell people, if the animal can see, hear, smell, or feel you, you are training it whether you realize it or not. The key question is, what are you training? So that car door beep, we have trained the car door beep to be the cue for the barking to start. I'm here, go ahead and start barking. We need to identify, why is the barking happening in the first place? When we can answer that question, why, we've identified the reinforcer behind the behavior, whether that behavior is desired or undesired. Okay. Okay. So we can teach that the beep of the car door means run to your station. That is a conditioned reinforcer. We have paired, these dogs were not born knowing that when they hear a car door beep, it means I'm getting ready to walk in the door. No, they learn that because we've trained that. Okay. Bobby says, what do you want them to do instead? Yes. When we ask ourselves, we want to change a behavior, we need to ask, what will we like them to do instead? Animals learn faster, and so do people, from being reinforced for what to do versus being told what not to do. When animals are constantly being told what not to do, studies show that they don't learn as quick. When we reinforce them for the behaviors we want them to do, you will see animals go up and beyond what you are asking. I know, I see it every single day. The way it works and the way it works against us. I see it every single day. And that is the reinforcer behind why I continue to do the work that I do. Nancy says, hey, Nancy, and I want to thank you for a lot of your referrals. You give me a lot of referrals. I see it I see it when you do. Referring my son to your Facebook page to see your videos on dog training. He has a cutie puppy who is a wild man. Yep. Okay. Send him my way. Okay. So, all right. And here's a situation. Jill says stationing helps. Yep. What do you want them to do instead? When you hear the car beep, do you want them to go to their station? And be more specific, Jill. Okay. Give me more specifics. Does a station mean all 4 feet on their bed? back 2 feet on their bed? You want their butt cheeks on their bed? You want them sitting on their bed? You want them laying on their bed? What about their mouth? What do you want their mouth doing? Is it okay if they continue to bark? If not, this is where I say be specific about the behavior. When they hear the beep of the car, I want them to all go to their stations. And me particularly, I don't care if you're laying down, sitting down. All I want is all 4 feet on the bed and your mouth in the shut position. Okay. So those are 2 behaviors, all 4 feet on the bed and the mouth in a shut position. So you'll have to train both of those together or individually. Okay. And then if we train them individually, then you chain them together. And chaining is where you train 2 or more behaviors separately and then tie them all together. And we show how we do that in our memberships and in the projects. Beth says, teach a station and to ignore doorbell, door knock, key turn sound. So ignoring is a schedule of reinforcement called extinction. I know, Donna. I have worked for myself for several years. And before then, I worked for a large organization, a large international organization, which was run by using negative reinforcement and positive punishment. And a lot of businesses are. Negative punishment meaning do it or else. That's coercion. And in the science of behavior, you understand when you run with negative reinforcement, you understand the pitfalls. And positive punishment. I'll get to that later. Somebody wants to remind me of a story to tell about the dangers of running an organization on negative reinforcement and positive punishment. I'm happy to tell you. Behavior doesn't lie. Science is science. Katie says, is teaching them not to bark suppressing their natural happy language? There's okay, very good question that I have never been asked before that I can recollect. Maybe, but when I am living my life with an animal, I am doing all I can to fulfill that animal's life as well. And the importance is we have to live together. I need to be happy and you need to be happy. If one of us isn't happy, this is not going to work. If both of us are not happy, this is not going to work. I'm trying to get that light going on. Very pretty, Rocky. Okay, so if I like Macaw's scream, those screams mean many different things. I have a hard time living with that macaw scream. I always have. Okay. It hurts my ears in a different way than the cockatoos do, believe it or not, because the cockatoos have already made me deaf. But macaws have different types of screams. They have alarm calls. They have calls where they just talk to each other. They have calls where they're excited. It's an excited call. And I'm cool with that. But let's not keep that going on for long periods of time. I want to hear animals be happy. And if that's a bark, that's fine. And my dogs bark. I hear barking related to excitement. Okay. And I don't suppress that. Or it's okay for periods of time because I need to be happy too. Jim says, Rocky. Jim was the one. Jim, I was just thinking about you the other day. Called me to get Rocky, our Moluccan cockatoo, in the Stanley Steamer commercials. And the first time Jim called me, I thought he was a telemarketer, so I hung up on him. Jim, I'll never forget that. And then you called me back and you're like, don't hang up on me. I'm not a telemarketer. And I was like, what do you want? And then I listened to it and I was like, oh, this is very interesting. So yeah, every time people come in here to the center to see Rocky, I always say, this is Rocky from the Stanley Steamer commercials. So, okay, with the barking, if it's causing an issue. So one dog barks and it starts the other two dogs barking. So we could say, I mean, the cue for the barking to start it from the one dog is the beep of the car. Okay. Yes, very good point, Pat. We have to be careful not to anthropomorphize what is natural, what is happy language. Communication has function from the standpoint of the individual. Okay, so we've taught the beep, okay? So what I would do in this instance is, I see you, Rico, back chain. I would start at the very end of this chain of series of change of behavior. So one place you could start is teach a station, okay? Which you could stand right in front of the individual animal and teach a station, okay? Teach one dog to go on its station, and then you could train separately and teach the second dog to go on the station, and then you bring them together and teach them both to go on the station on cue. Or you could train the third one separately, teach that one to station, and then you train 1 and 3 together. Then you train 1 and 2 together. Then you train 2 and 3 together. Then you add in 1 and you train all 3. Okay. Me, because I like the challenge, I like the complexity, I just jump in and start training all of them all at once. And I will focus on one. Boom, 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 boom. And then as soon as I see number 2 hit their paw on a station, boom, goodies fall from the sky while I'm keeping 1 on the station, and then 3. My dogs are so used to learning, they look for things to do. I'm getting ready to put Quincy to work here. Hey, Leah, good to see ya. So I'm getting ready to put Quincy to work here. She is going to help me. Why am I not finding the crap? Okay, well, forget that. BeLive has changed something and I can't find where it's at. So what we could do, something else we could do, forgot to bring my key fob in here with me. So we have the beep of the car horn is a conditioned reinforcer. We have paired that with us coming home. So we have cued dog number 1 to start barking, okay? Or run to the window or whatever. So we need to, one thing we could do is teach dog number 1, because notice how the specifics I said, dog number 2 and dog number 3 don't start barking until dog number 1 does. So our cue with the specifics there is dog number 1 is delivering the reinforcer for dog number 2 and 3, or cueing dog 2 and 3. So I will say, I look at specifics and say, I need to train dog number 1. We'll start with that one. Okay. So I may start training dog number 1 to station, and then I'm going to grab my key fob, hit the horn, okay, and say good and deliver the reinforcer before she can even come off of her station. So now I'm counter conditioning and training a new conditioned reinforcer. Okay, so then I am teaching dog number 1, every time the beep happens, it means go to your station. So here's okay, a lot of people are going to make mistakes here and maybe, and we have this, these are the details we have in our podcast in our level 1 and level 2 memberships. People love our podcasts. And these are our podcasts, the Animal Behavior Hour, where we go into deep specifics on particular behavior steps, training, whatever. Say the horn is, you beep the car horn and it's too overstimulating and the dog jumps off the station and runs to the window, which is what you don't want it to do, okay? You've taken it too big of a step in your training plan. So one of the things you could do is, okay, we don't start with the car horn. Just like I'm training Rocky, getting ready to train Rocky to accept the harness so he can go outside in the zoo, and he is a riot. Jim knows, he's met him. He is a complete ham. He will have all visitors here at the zoo rolling in laughter. So in order to get him outside, I need to harness train him because he's a big, beautiful flyer, and I need him to stay on my hand. And in order to start harness training him, I am not starting with the harness. So many times people will start with that harness, and that harness already has already been paired with aversive force and pushing the animal too far. So you start poisoning the cue. You start positively punishing the very behavior you're trying to train. Taking too big of steps in our training plan. Good morning, Kim. Good morning, Kitty. Good morning, Claudia. Good morning, Lauren. Okay, so overstimulation, taking too big of steps in our training plan. So when you hit the horn, the dog jumps off the bed. You could do a couple of different things here. You could deliver, this is the S in this, you could deliver 5 treats instead of 1, to where the dog goes to run off the station, but just saw 5 treats delivered, not 1. So, hey, it might be more, the situation is, the behavior is more reinforcing now of me staying here because I've got 5 treats, not just 1, than running to the car, okay? If that doesn't work, something else you could do is eliminate the car horn altogether. Don't even go there. Good morning, Tara. What I would do is, you have all kinds of apps on your phone. Make sure there's no emergencies. Okay. Not emergencies. Okay. You could download an app on your phone of different types of sounds. And I've done this in several, when I used to go in home and do dog training. I don't anymore. I only do it online through our memberships. But you can download car horns. Okay. You could download sounds of traffic. You could download all different kinds of sounds. And then start with the car horn. Let's say we start. What's up, Andy? And put it on a volume level of 1, with 10 being the highest. Then we're going to shape, counter condition, okay? And system, you're going to counter condition. And then you can just hit 1 at a low level. So you hear a beep, that big. And then bridge, reinforce. And then you don't move to level 2 until you know that dog is staying at level 1, okay? Make sense? And then you can start. Does anybody want to give any more input? Then I would start to see if that solves the issue right there. You may not even have to trade dog 2 and dog 3, because dog 2 and 3 weren't a problem in the beginning in the first place. So then you start taking several steps back, hit the horn, dog runs to station or stays on station, bridge reinforced, then you go out the door, then you can move to a remote control treat training device, or you're just building duration, okay? And then you're outside. Leah says, I like your home screen on your phone. This is the one, unless I unlock it, then it's the almighty Quincy. Yes, she'll be back here with me tomorrow. Makes sense? And then C, so now you have control over dog number one. And control is not a bad word, okay? Because we all have control over people, loved ones in our family. If we have children, we need to have control over them. If not, those children's lives could be at stake. So having control over something is, there's some other words out there like consequences that have negative connotations, but consequences are things that happen in every behavior. Does this make sense? Okay, so Bobby Boykin, are you listening to me? Because I know you have asked me about this question. And I'm going to live stream something in level 1 for you that may help you. And I plan on doing it this week. I've been trying to get it for the past couple days, but I can't. I need lots of hands helping me here at the center. And we have that with all of our volunteers, our amazing volunteers. And we have that with our animals. Put your animals to work and give them jobs to do. They will thank you for it because it's a lot more enriching, empowering than laying at home waiting for you to get home or sitting in a cage waiting for you to get home. Okay, so let's move on to another scenario, okay? People are asking me questions. We do have monthly Q&As here on Coffee with the Critters. Feel free to email me if you wish, if I can find that for you. Dang it. You can always email me at our website. Okay. And there's a contact form on there. So let's move on to another scenario, which is working with, do we want to work with a fearful animal or 2 fearful animals? Which one would you like to work with? 1 or 2 fearful animals at the same time? You tell me. Because I'm currently working with 2 fearful animals that we're live streaming in level 1 and showing where we start and how we get behavior. Let's say 2, okay? Okay, 2, 1, 2, 1. All right, one more person. Give me a 2 or a 1. 1. Okay, we're working with 1 fearful animal. Okay, let's work with 1. Working with 2 brings a whole new level of complexity. So everybody, a lot of people are saying, let's work with 1 fearful animal. See what he's. Hang on, I want to see. Oopsie. I think I just reinforced the screen. We'll find out. I was trying to see what he's looking at. So he knows I'm sitting here and he knows I'm sitting here in my office, Rocky, and he can't see me because the door's closed. But I'm sitting at an angle where Rico can see me. Hi. Reinforcing silence. Am I? I don't know. Let's see what happens. We were talking about this the other day in our podcast, the dangers in reinforcing silence. It's not as easy as you think. Okay, and a lot of times, like Beth says, if 2 fearful animals, I work with the less fearful one to encourage the second, confident, more behavior. Yeah, I work with, and with me, it just depends on the pair. I work with pairs and more than 1 pair of animals. And it just depends, for me, it depends on the individual situation. So, like we just talked about this in our last podcast, Dylan Pickles, the ring-tailed lemurs, they were very fearful. Wilma and Fred, the black cast hornbills. And I can't remember what other animals we were working with. I had referred to. So you're working with a fearful animal. All right. We're going to work with one. So let's say this fearful animal, as soon as you walk in the room, good morning, Daphne. Let's say as soon as you walk in the room, let's not, put in your head whether we're working with a dog, whether we're working with a bird, whether we're working with a pig, whether we're working with a lemur, whatever. As soon as you walk in the room, the animal does some type of vocalization and then gets as far away from you as possible. Okay? I'm setting up the scenario. You walk further in the room, the animal escalates that vocalization and starts moving more rapidly and jerky and continues to start running away from you. And as it's running away from you, it's banging into things and it's knocking over things. And that knocking over things is now making it more fearful. Say it runs into a stack of boxes and the whole stack of boxes now crashes. And boy, this is just escalating out of control. Okay. What would you do? What would you do? I'm sitting here thinking of all the different areas of where I would start. Okay. Does anybody want to, let's say that's our situation and you're trying to get closer to deliver a food reinforcer, but even though, good morning, Maggie, you throw food at it, the animal is not even seeing the food, not recognizing it. It is just focused on you and it won't even bend over to pick up food. And you keep throwing food. Okay? Take it over. Where would you go? What would you do with this situation? Somebody just walked in the door. Okay? What would you do with this situation? Tara says, back off first and reset. Yes, I like that, Tara. I'm a big observer of behavior. And not only can I see behavior, I can hear behavior. So, like, I'm not watching the macaws, but they just vocalized. So I looked out the front windows to see if somebody pulled in. Okay? When I hear behavior, I will look at it to see if I can identify the reinforcer behind the sound. You can smell behavior and you can feel behavior. You have an animal on your arm, on your shoulder, and all of a sudden feet tense up. When I feel that, I'm like, whoa, what's happening in the environment to see what is the reinforcer behind this. Yep. Shirley and both Amy said stop approaching. Yes. Because what's happening is you continuing and be specific, you continuing to approach is the reinforcer behind. Now the movement has moved to jerky and it's bumping into things. Okay. You're reinforcing the very behavior you're trying to extinguish. So Maggie says, sit down as far away as possible and face away from the animal. Sure. I don't think there's a wrong answer. If it is, I'm going to tell you. Shirley says, give a positive call. What does positive mean? Okay. All right. One of the things I'm going to say you could do is just trying to find the tag that I can throw up, that I can put up here that says, one of the things you could do, yeah, let me type this out. Title, update. This is what I'm trying to put up there. One of the things you could do is a lot of people would say, a lot of things people would say is go in and sit down. There's something else I would do before then. Okay. Because even if you go in and sit down, okay, that animal may retreat, hide behind a chair, whatever, up in a perch as far away from possible. And you may be sitting there for a very, very long time, depending upon the history of reinforcement, reinforcers you give at that time or don't give. What I would do before then is just observe it at a distance. Don't even try to interact. Don't even go in the room. I would probably, and I do this here at the center, if I bring in a new animal that I know has a lot of fear, and I can't approach, I will set a camera on it and I will just sit here and watch it. And I watch, what does it move to? What does it move away from? Because whatever it's moving to are potential reinforcers. And I'm saying, okay, it's eating. What is it eating? Okay, it's eating, for some reason I keep having a lemur in my head. So what is it eating? Oh, it's eating bananas. Okay, or it's eating, let's say it's not eating its dog food, but it's eating its bone, or it's playing with a toy. And then after it's done eating, it goes over and starts manipulating an object. So I'm like, all right, and say it's a little hesitant, but keeps going back up, and it rolls, and the animal gets scared, but yet it goes back up and interacts. That is curiosity. Do not punish curiosity. I have an article out there on curiosity and how not to punish curiosity, because curiosity can be a huge positive reinforcer for you to use to work with that animal to build a relationship. And so many times people will say, oh, it's interested in this object, let's get it closer, and then the animal freaks out. Okay, that's exactly what you don't want to do. So sit back and observe and watch what it moves to. Those are all potential positive reinforcers that you can pull and still give them for the same time. I mean, not same time, the same amount throughout the day, but for the behaviors that you want to see maintain or increase, and for those behaviors you want paired with yourself. So, and then note when it's eating, what it's eating, when it stops eating, when it retreats, where does it go when it's nervous? And when working with a fearful animal, I will always give it a place to go if it's not uncomfortable. If it doesn't have a place to go, I will create a place for it to go. For another reason, I'm thinking of Shiloh, the peregrine falcon that I was working with. Every time we just decided, every time it went into its little hiding box, we would take a step back. Okay. And we were trying to train this falcon to come to us when we cued it, but it was petrified of people. And as soon as it would see people, it would just throw itself into a wall, which was sad to see. So we said, all right, when it goes back into its little box, let's put the contingency on that's when we back up, because that is giving the animal control over us. So when it would go into its box, we would back out. And the more it would go into its box, the more we would back up. And the more he saw that we would back up, the more he would come out. Because that's your line of communication. Animals understanding us. And the more he would come out, the more we would try to throw reinforcers to him to reinforce the behavior of him staying out. And it did get to the point where we could walk up and just hand the falcon the food. Okay, makes sense. So when working with the fearful animal, first observe before even interacting. Because like I said, when you walk in and sit in that room, you could be sitting there for such a long period of time because you don't you haven't yet gathered a list of positive reinforcers to use. And when you're working with a very fearful animal, it can be hard to gather reinforcers because remember when I said you throw the food and the animal stops. It won't even look at the food. It's not even recognizing the food. It's just paying attention to you. So this animal is way beyond threshold. We need to identify reinforcers, give it a place to hide, okay, to let it know when you go to that area, I stop. I completely stop what I'm doing, or I back out. Does that make sense? Does anybody have any other tips they use when working with a fearful animal? We are working with, Dunbar had a protocol, but I can't remember it. Completely treat, retreat. Treat, back up, treat, back up. We do that a lot in the parrot project, like when working with a fearful bird. Listen to this, even though if you don't work with birds, you're working with a fearful bird in a cage, okay? Key here, you are working with an animal in a cage. Its options are already way more limited than working with an animal in a room, okay? So when I'm working with a fearful bird in a cage, I will set up that cage before the animal even goes in it with treat dishes all the way around, okay? And if the bird is in the front part of the cage, I do not approach because I'm going to reinforce undesired behaviors. What I do is wait for the bird to get to the back of the cage, and then I will just walk by at the front of the cage and drop a treat in and then leave, move. A lot of people will be like, oh, I'm far away, so I will just stay. And this animal lunges or it doesn't come up. Drop the treat and keep on moving. Book it, all right? Don't stay there. So you're creating distance so this bird can come up here and get the treat. And now you've got the bird in the front of the cage, so I don't approach the front of the cage. I will go, because I've already set up dishes all the way around the cage. I will go to the back, deliver the treat in there, and then keep on moving. And then the bird goes to the back. So what I'm doing is pairing myself with the animal's positive reinforcers, all right? And what I find out when I start working with, a lot of times we can't work with food, but if we can work with food, because you're continually pairing yourself with the bird's positive reinforcers, and there's that line of communication that's starting, the animal then, more than likely, you become the animal's positive reinforcer. Daphne says, I think about the color of my clothing. If they are reacting to my glasses, I do need to change something about my presence and be more neutral. Yeah, we had somebody come in the air the other day, and they had a hat on and a mask and big boots and big jackets. My birds are not used to seeing that. Okay, well, our time is up, and I wanted to say, if you're interested in the content you've seen in this, in our weekly live stream, Coffee with the Critters, this is something we offer all the time. Annual memberships to level 1 for people with companion animals, level 2 for people thinking about getting into the field or wanting to know more. We also have our projects, which are species specific. And a lot of times people sign up for both because they're meant to be joined. We also have a lot of different services. We have our webinars. We have our consultations. We're putting together a virtual workshop right now. We have a lot of people asking about our workshops. I also want to say we have a referral program for every 5 people that you refer to us that sign up for a membership or project. We keep track of that. Earns you a free 1-hour online consultation. And with that, I just want to say thank you all very much for attending. And if you would like to get in touch with me, you can go to our website, theanimalbehaviorcenter.com, and you can contact me on there. There's a contact button, and I will answer you. All right. Thank you, guys. Jennifer says, great show. Thank you, Jennifer. Good to see you, everybody. And I will see you next week on Coffee with the Critters in our brand new building.